Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Now, Asetek SimSports has just released their second generation of their steering wheel range, and they've been kind enough to send me a bunch of stuff to test and use. So, in this video I'm going to talk about what's new, what's changed, and how much it will cost. But before we get into it, the necessary disclaimer. Asetek SimSports sent me this kit free of charge for the purpose of making this video, and it's also worth mentioning that I am an Asetek SimSports partner. However, Asetek don't have any creative control over this video and they don't see it before you do. And this is an affiliate sales free zone. So if I recommend something on this channel, it's because it's decent. I don't recommend things to generate sales to get that financial kickback because I've chosen not to. But if you follow the link down below in the description or use the code DaveCam, you'll get 5% discount. But I would advise you to watch as much content as you can about a product before actually buying it. So, in 2023, Asetek released their Invicta wheelbase and their Forte steering wheel. And let's just say, the opinions on the steering wheel was divided. Lots of people weren't a huge fan of how it looked, and you either loved it or hated it. But ergonomically, it was and still is one of the best wheels that I've ever used. Later in 2023, Asetek also released their La Prima wheel and then the Forte and the La Prima button boxes, which were to be used with their selection of round wheels. Now, fast forward to 2025, and Asetek SimSports have just released 4 new button boxes, 2 of them Formula and 2 GT. So at the moment, you can still buy the first generation Forte and La Prima Formula steering wheels, which are slightly cheaper than the second generation, as you would expect. But I assume they're going to discontinue them and they might not be around for long. But Asetek have listened to feedback and realised aesthetically they weren't for everyone. So let's talk firstly about the La Prima range. This is Asetek's entry-level range, which obviously has less features than the middle-tier Forte selection of button boxes and steering wheels. If you wanted a round rim, you would still purchase the GT button box and attach whichever Asetek rim you choose. The structure of the wheel remains the same. The buttons and rotary encoders are all made from plastic. You've got the RPM lights across the top, but you don't have the button LEDs or LED flags on the La Prima range. The only thing that's changed is the orange buttons on the front have now been replaced with black ones. As for the Formula rim, this is now bought as a button box without the grips, so these have to be bought separately. But I don't think that's a bad thing, as you can choose which ones you prefer. Same story with this button box. The encoders and buttons are all made of plastic, minus the orange buttons, which are also now black. There's no LEDs on the buttons, no flag LEDs, and no more orange strips separating the handle from the wheel rim itself. But one nice update for new and existing La Prima wheel owners is that if you wanted to, you can now buy the extra paddles such as the dual clutch, which you couldn't use previously. You just need to update the firmware of your wheel with the RaceHub software. And the best thing of all, it's free. Now, onto the Forte Formula rim, which in my opinion is now genuinely a really nice looking steering wheel. Same as the La Prima range, the orange strips separating the handle from the rim are gone, and all the buttons and rotary encoders are now made from aluminium. As standard, the wheel ships with the 2 funky switches in orange. Sorry Asetek, I know you guys call them kinky switches, but I can't say that. But included with the wheel are 2 black rotaries which you can replace on the funky switches if you wanted to. But just be careful, in the bag are 2 minute grub screws which you've got to insert into the rotary before you put them on. I dropped one of them on the kitchen floor and it literally took me about 20 minutes to find it. Because of the new aluminium center rotaries, the LED lights behind them are much more visible than they previously were. All the buttons have LEDs just above the buttons, so your finger never actually covers the LED light itself. In the software, you can choose the color of the button when it's pressed and when it's not pressed, which is a really nice feature. All the rotaries have just the right amount of resistance to make it feel premium, and it's the same story with the buttons, which have a nice tactile feel to them. The Forte GT button box is exactly the same with regards to rotaries and buttons, all made from aluminium. So on the face of it, not a huge amount has changed. And if you already own either the La Prima or Forte wheel, I don't think there is any reason you would want to make a sideways move to this newer generation. But if you wanted to go from a La Prima to a Forte, it now feels significantly better. I mean, the feel of the buttons and encoders on the La Prima are fine. It's obviously just more of a premium product made with better materials. And all the button boxes and wheels are obviously fitted with Asetek's superb quick release. Now, onto price, all of which is in euros plus taxes wherever you are in the world. If you wanted to buy the original La Prima button box, it's $234.99. And the price for the new generation is exactly the same. If you wanted to buy the first generation of the La Prima Formula wheel, it's $334.99. And the price for the new generation is $259.99. But then you've got to buy whichever handles you want. The prices for the handles range from $70 to $100. The original Forte Formula rim is $544.99, and the second generation is cheaper at $499.99. But then, of course, you've got to buy your handles. But if you have a La Prima steering wheel and you wanted to upgrade to a Forte, you could use the handles from that. All the Formula handles fit any Formula wheel, whether it's La Prima, Forte, or Invicta. If you wanted, you can buy extra magnetic or dual clutch paddle, which is the same fitment, whichever button box or wheel you choose. One size fits all. So there's pretty much something for everyone now in the Asetek range, all competitively priced, well built, and feel really good to use. I'm really impressed with the new Forte button box, which now feels as good in the hand as their Invicta wheel, but obviously minus the screen. But there are a couple of things that I don't like. Firstly, the toggle switches at the top. I'm not a fan of these switches on any wheel rim and rarely map them to any function. On the Invicta wheel, there's no cover on them and you can see the metal switch and it just feels a little bit more substantial. But on the Forte, it's covered in like rubber, which moves a little bit, which is obviously by design, but I'm not keen. I'd rather have just one extra button on either side. Next up is the branding on the front. For me, it's just a bit too much. I mean, I get it. They want people to know who makes the steering wheel, but just the Asetek SimSports logo or Forte or La Prima would be enough in my opinion. It just makes the front a little bit too cluttered for me, but obviously that's subjective and you might like it. But overall, a really nice improvement to an existing product line, which will undoubtedly appeal to many more sim racers. So I want to say a huge thank you to Asetek SimSports for sending me out this kit to test and use and share my thoughts with you guys. Remember, if you are thinking of buying anything from Asetek SimSports, make sure you follow the link in the description or use the code DaveCalm for 5% off. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great week. See you later. Cheers.